Amanda, I'm going to be quite straightforward. If these are the only projects which you can showcase in your portfolio, even if one time or sometimes you're going to have a portfolio, actually the level of applications just in general is like not good enough in terms of like the UX, sort of the UI aspect of as well, basically how it's being structured. And also, I don't know if you did like any type of research. If you did research for it, that's really awesome. Although I cannot see it here. But usually if you want to build up like an actual portfolio piece, we are talking about a case study, right? Then it's quite important to have actually background to what you are doing. In general, I wouldn't recommend creating just an e-commerce website or any other just website for your case study, because websites tends to be really simple, especially e-commerce website does not really I would say since they are not applications, right? They are just like an e-commerce store, basically just a web store, which is not the way of like, solving problems as a UX UI designer. I don't know how much you've been learning about all of the UX UI design stuff, but basically our job is to like solve problems with design, right? Which requiring having a good problem. Usually building up an e-commerce store is not considered as like a good problem to solve. If you want to create like an actual case study out of this one, as I said, there is like more research needed, more background of like what you are actually solving and how you're coming to the solution, and then how you're creating that solution, which is going to be an application at the end of the day. So my suggestion would be not to focus on like creating your portfolio first, because as I said, if you are using this project in your portfolio, it's definitely not going to be good enough. So I would rather recommend for you to like first study the design thinking process, what are the different steps, and try to create 2 projects at least, which is going to be following the design thinking process. And while you're also creating your project, I would highly recommend looking at better examples of how applications are looking like nowadays. And I believe that you've been designing a while ago. On the other hand, like today, the market is requiring higher level of designs. And I can tell you, if you're even using this kind of like design without any research or background or having like context and research around it, I can definitely tell you that it's not going to be enough. And you're going to be really, really sad at the end of the day when you keep applying for jobs and keep getting rejected with no reason. I can tell you the reason would be that basically the projects themselves, it's not about the portfolio at all. The projects themselves are just not strong enough in general. So that would be my suggestion, where you can basically improve your chances of finding a job. So my recommendation would be to like take at least like 2 to 3 months for this one of creating the 2 other projects. Inside 1 month, you should enough time to like create a new project. So first of all, finding a good project idea, that's one of the most important part. And as I said, focusing on like finding a good problem which you can work out from. So basically the first thing would be like doing the research and problem definition. This is when you're doing figuring out like what the project is about, how is the project going to look like. Then you're going to do the research, which is going to include doing interviews, synthesizing the information, using the affinity diagram, writing how might be problem statements, stuff like this. And then you want to start working on the wireframes, and eventually you're gonna work on the high fidelity UI designs, which is in our case is going to be something like this, right? But the thing is that before you could get to this conclusion of like, okay, I'm actually making like a design, you actually have to back it up of like why you are making a design. Because if you're just making a design for the sake of making a design, then you're not going to be considered or taken seriously, I would say. Because this is the first thing which they're going to ask you during interviews of like, okay, what is your design process? What are your research methods? How did you find the problem? And if you cannot answer these during an interview, even if you land an interview, it's going to look really bad if you cannot answer these questions. But in order to be able to answer these questions, you're gonna need to actually do these steps. I don't know which course you did take for the UX UI design, for learning UX UI design, but usually they tend to walk you through of this first stage of doing the research, analyzing the data, and making your conclusions. So I would rather recommend of focusing on this one first. Second, creating 2 new projects, more like 3 if it's possible, in the next 2 to 3 months in your free time. Be committed about it, And then if you have like 2 good enough projects which you can showcase, then we can talk about of creating an actual portfolio website which you can use to like apply for jobs. Because I can like guarantee it for like 100% that if you are using your current design work, it's not really going to end well. You not going to land any interviews. I can tell it for a fact. I'm looking at a lot of portfolios. Me myself, I was also interviewing other designers for our company. This is what I see on the market right now. With that said, you still have a good shot in all of this because you have plenty of time, hopefully sometime at least during the week, and you are definitely on the right path of creating the designs. So with all of that said, you already took the first steps in order to get where you want to be. But then I would rather recommend focusing now on like building up 2 more like quality projects. And then when I say like quality, this is what I mean of like having an actual research, having an actual problem, actually doing the data analyzing part, synthesizing the research, and then making conclusions out of that research. And then this is going to be your story which you can tell actually in your case study. Because without having this on the first place, your case study is going to feel really, really empty. And as I said, this is what senior designers are actually looking for inside the case study. You can definitely like do however you think. So obviously it's your choice of what you're gonna do from here. But as I said, if you wanna create a good portfolio requires good projects which have like a good background, which you can tell in your case study as well. So yeah, that would be it.